on-off-site space for exhibitions and events, serves as program curator at CADIST, and has independently organized exhibitions at BAM PFA, Yale Union, the Renaissance Society at University of Chicago, San Francisco City Hall, Philip Johnson Glass House, Matthew Marks Gallery, and more. Jordan is also co-founder and interdisciplinary collaborative group Will Brown, which realized over 36 exhibitions and program in their Mission District storefront from 2012 to 2015, before working parasitically with other organizations. So Will Brown, he is the author of Bruce Conner Brass Handles, and with Jason Fulford, he's the editor of Where to Score, a collection of hippie-era classified advertisements. He has taught at Williams College, San Francisco Art Institute, and CCA. Welcome, Jordan. Lindsey White has exhibited at venues such as SF MoMA, San Francisco Arts Commission Gallery, Cinema Station, Bolinas Museum, Contemporary Jewish Art Museum, Acme Gallery in LA, the Art Gym at Marylhurst University, San Francisco International Airport Museum, and Museum of Berengasse in Zurich. White recently was awarded the SF MoMA Sika Award in 2017, and a residency at the Headland Center for the Arts and Kala Art Institute. Her work has been featured in Photography is Magic by Charlotte Cotton. White is also the co-founder and the para-curatorial exhibition experiment Will Brown, which has realized projects with institutions such as BAM PFA, Wadis, DeRosa, Ulrich Museum of Art at Wichita State University, and CADIST. Her projects have been featured in Art Forum, Fritz, New York Times, Hyperallergic, and KQED. Thank you and welcome, Lindsey. So the way, again, we're gonna talk about first the curatorial practice of these two, and then we're gonna jump into the show that they curated, that the guest curated at Creativity Explored, Cake Taxi. So first of all, first question is for you, Jordan. Are you also an artist? It's something that I do not know.
Oh, I'm a recovering artist. Okay. So I moved to San Francisco in 2003 to get an MFA at the San Francisco Art Institute, and I came in through the photography program, and then I met a lot of amazing professors and came out new genres, which means I was making mediocre work in all media. And I was thrilled to be in the company of so many artists. And one of the things that I figured out was that I wanted to be surrounded by art and artists and thinking and feeling with art all the time, but that I just wasn't an artist. Mm-hmm. So it was a great thing to discover, and it was a good context to do that. And yeah, I turned my studio into a gallery before I graduated. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I'd never heard of a curator, but that's just what I started to do. So that's the story
behind everything. And this is did you guys meet at SFAI, by the way?
No, I didn't go to SFAI.
Oh, that's right. That's right. But so yeah, something that I think is really interesting is like the relationship between the curatorial practice you both have and the fact that Lindsey, you're also a photographer and you've been making work on the side. You also both are teaching or in the teaching realm. So how do you kind of see those two coming together, especially in the San Francisco art scene that is like quite small in some ways?
I mean, I make photos and videos and sculptures, and a lot of the classes that I teach are really collaborative, and doing the Will Brown project, which was so collaborative, kind of goes hand in hand with how I think about working in the classroom and also curating exhibitions or making art. So it all kind of like, I try to not separate everything out in a lot of ways. Anything that I'm researching or thinking about usually comes into the classroom. I feel really lucky in that way that I get to bounce off ideas with other people and work on projects together. Hopefully I'm answering your question.
How do you actually see CE kind of fitting in this realm? I know you both are really interested in kind of alternative ways to curate or alternative ways to think about a show. What was your first kind of take on the C experience?
Mm. Well, we both lived in town for a long time, and have sort of separate stories about coming to CE for the first time. But it's obviously it's a special place, and either you get it, either you get it or you don't. And thankfully, I guess most people get it. But we both had a similar, electrifying experience, and have known many amazing artists who've taught there over the years, and so have spent time sort of hanging out and learning a lot about art and a lot about humanity and creativity and things like that. And so when we just as long as you have this slide up, Will Brown was a group that we started. It was a group that we started. It was a space that we started. It was a storefront on 24th Street in the Mission. And we found that we worked with a friend of ours, David Kasperzak, and Lindsey and I had finished art school, and David had gone through a curatorial practice program, MA program at CCA. And we wanted to start a space that was sort of neither a curatorial platform nor really fully artistic outlet, but was kind of hybridized. And so what we ended up creating, for better or worse, was sort of an idiosyncratic space. No one else was quite doing what we were doing. Again, not to say it was necessarily good, but Creativity Explored is just one of the unbelievably singular institutions of the world. So it's been really inspiring to us over the years, and one of the places that, of course, makes San Francisco what it is.
Yeah, and also Creativity Explored is super approachable, which I have always really appreciated it. I wandered in because I had heard about Creativity Explored and then saw an exhibition, and I thought it was cool that I was able to walk around the studio and meet the artist. And I really appreciate how the teachers and the artists work together, and it's so collaborative and such a spirited place. I mean, artwork is hanging everywhere. There's just I feel like that the energy is just, it's literally hanging from the ceilings and off the walls and on the tables, and that's really special.
Is it something you've ever experienced elsewhere?
Maybe in like punk house that I lived in Portland. But no, there's just kind of like, I guess maybe that DIY spirit. Like I lived in this funny place was all women, and we were always making things, and things were hanging all over the place. But it's definitely, it's very unique. And it's nice to be able to have firsthand conversations with artists walk through the door.
Mm-hmm. So since we're also on the Will Brown slide, which we will move on eventually, I swear. So Jordan, you mentioned that it was the project itself is not really a curatorial project, not really a gallery. So what is it for people that didn't go to Will Brown space or haven't been to? So the image on the bottom is from BAM PFA. It was a theater experience, really. It was a play that you guys co-wrote with Kevin Killian, and I remember being there, and it was amazing, but it's a very non-traditional format. So could you speak more about that?
Yeah, it was, it's almost like the process of elimination. It's like, what is it not? I mean, we had the three of us had a dinner one night. I didn't really know David, and Lindsey and David were pals, and the space was becoming available, and it's the price. It wasn't that long ago, it was 2012, but it was still like the rent was still really reasonable, believe it or not, on the space. And we decided that we had enough in common that we wanted to do a space. We figured out what the first exhibition would be. We agreed that we would never show art, and that we would do our best at all costs to avoid having a mission statement. And that to us was really liberating kind of a feeling. So I think what we eventually came up with, probably to apply to grants, was something like Will Brown is I don't know, an organization that
thinks about, it's exhibition making as a critical practice is always how we phrased it.
Right.
And I think because of the no art, which sounds really pretentious, but I don't feel like it is, because we really worked hard with our space and our projects to make approachable and make projects that were rethinking history, what art history looks like, who the behind the scenes kind of producers of an art exhibition are, I don't know, it was more of like looking at the underbelly of art practice. And I just want to make a note, we did not write the play with Kevin Killian. I just want to give proper props to the most
Kevin
amazing.
Was the author.
Yeah, he wrote the play. We were lucky enough to be able to commission him through funds from the Berkeley Art Museum.
Right. So we made a number of exhibitions and tons of programs in that space on 24th Street. It was really a discursive space. It was at a time when SF MoMA was closed, when BAM-PFA was relocating. There was not a whole lot of art to see in town, and a lot of galleries were closing. And so we wanted to make a space where people could talk about art and spend time with art. It's a little, in the abstract, it's a little hard to explain what it was, but over time we gave up the space, and eventually we were invited by other institutions like BAM-PFA to realize exhibitions elsewhere. We realized we could sort of take the philosophy or the ethos kind of on the road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very interesting. And actually, so continuing to curatorial project, you have opened a gallery called Cushion Works, which described as an on-off space, right? Could you tell us also about that? I think you opened in 2018, correct?
Opened in 2017. Yeah, it's been several years now, and I have to. There's a woman who's on this Zoom called Susan Schroeder, and I have to thank her because Susan operates with her partner Gary Ellis a business called Cushion Works. I mean, I stole my Cushion Works from her Cushion Works, and Cushion Works has been making cushions in the Mission District for almost 40 years. And Susan went to CCAC and put up a flyer years and years ago that she had some extra space in the building. And now, these years, a dozen years later, rents all the space on the second floor as artist studios at incredibly reasonable rates. And so she's a really special person, and Cushion Works is a very special business. And Lindsey has a studio in the building, and I have one of the spaces, and I run a gallery, and it's upstairs at Cushion Works. The name was just too good not to borrow.
Yeah.
And and I got into calling it an on-off space because and this could change. I don't, of course, none of us know really how arts and culture, especially in the Bay Area, are really going to look, at least in terms of institutions, when we come out of the pandemic. But I also work at Caddist and do lots of independent projects and writing. So Cushion Works was really a place that I started to show artwork that I believed in the most. And essentially, I mean, not to be cheeky, but it was a space that I started in order to show art without having any meetings. It's just kind of it's a room, and it's a beautiful room. And there's art in there, and I'm always there. So we end up talking about it. And the shows come together for not a whole lot of money. And it's some people that I know and some people that I admire, and my sensibility or my taste or my interest veer towards people who are forgotten or deeply left of center. And so this show, for example, this big picture on the right is an octogenarian painter called Gene Beery, who lives out in the woods in Sutter Creek, California. And he had a moment really early in his career in New York, and then fell, so deeply out of favor that it's not even say he's out of favor. He's just living in the woods, being a painter. And so, I hosted his first solo show in San Francisco in 45 years or something. And so Cushion Works is a really important outlet for me. And the show, curiously, the show that I have on view right now is by the esteemed artist Lindsey White.
Free press.
So yeah, it's a family affair.
But yeah, I think, well, it's not the first time you guys are collaborating, and probably not the last time for Will Brown Cushionworks show. And one of the show actually that I think really drew me into asking you both to curate a show with us at Creativity Explored was Rotoscope that you guys curated. I think it was a few, it seems like a few months ago, but I'm sure it's a few years ago now. At City Hall.
It closed in March 2020.
Okay. So let's say that 2020 didn't exist, so really a few months ago. And it was a show that you said it's approximately 200 artwork from the Rhoda Kellogg International Child Art Collection, selected by Bella. Here are some images. Again, I think, so it was displayed at City Hall. You guys kind of took over the space. And so, of course, for me, it's this kind of sensitivity to something, to understand like artwork in a way that like it speaks for itself. But also it was a whole conversation around forgery. So can you tell us most about this show as well?
Sure. So this was a collaboration with SF Arts Commission, and they have, I mean, it's just amazing that City Hall allows artwork to be hung and to be displayed there, which is so, I mean, just so special. So we had come across this project because of the artist Brian Ballot, who was really obsessed with, or still is. He collects a lot of children's art, and he came across Rhoda Kellogg's work when he was doing his collecting, and was really taken with her work. And he was trying to make paintings and trying to get in touch with his childlike sensibilities by trying to make forgeries of different artworks.
That were made by children.
And he was really interested in Rhoda because Rhoda Kellogg started a school in San Francisco, which is the Phoebe Hearst preschool, which is over off on Laguna in Hayes Valley. She designed the school. She did a lot of independent research about how children move from scribbles to then developing drawing, like, feel free to jump in anytime. Mandalas to heads, bodies, suns, and that there's this natural universal progression. And she was doing her own independent research at the preschool that she taught at, but she also traveled the whole world and was collecting all of these drawings. She has millions and millions of drawings. 2 million.
That's plenty of money.
Million and a million. Yeah. And so yes, she was doing her independent research through the preschool and then also traveling. And she wrote a lot of books. She also made her own artwork. So we showed a collection of finger paintings that she collected and scribbles and her own artwork, and then Brian's artwork as well, because Brian has been working with the Rhoda Kellogg Foundation to, I haven't talked about this in a while, so I'm trying to spit it all out. He's being an archivist for them. And so the storage space that houses all these finger paintings is in Connecticut. He lives in New York, so he makes lots of trips there, and he has an assistant. They have this whole scanning process that they have going, and he makes a lot of books. Anyway, he's helping get her artwork out in the world, along with another teacher and scholar at Phoebe Hearst named Jen DeGioia. Jen DeGioia. Mm-hmm. But so we displayed all of these different artworks at the museum or not the museum, City Hall for over a year.
On the other side of the show here for over a year. I didn't know.
Yeah, it just stayed up. So on the right here is work that Rhoda Kellogg herself made that had never been seen before. And on the left is just an example of a sort of sequence of scribbles. We should say that Brian is a really amazing artist in his own right, and is especially fascinated with childhood work and with the scribble in particular as being sort of like the most primordial mark that a person could make, and was, of course, really tickled and inspired by the idea that we might kind of like flood, the seat of local government with children's scribbles, and sort of have that as a foil to what's going on everywhere, elsewhere in the building. And which you can't quite see in these pictures, is that this hallway is just massively long.
Mhm.
And it was almost like walking down, a couple lengths of bowling alley, and there's just these scribbles in stereo sound,
Wow.
on both sides of your head. It was really an exciting installation to do.
And that's where the name came from too, rotoscope, of like thinking about how you're moving down the hallway and these scribbles are just moving with you and the energy.
Mhm.
And then on the other side was a wing of finger painting. So it's just kind of the colors whirling past.
I think
People out were voting with these images above them too, which was awesome. That's kind of my favorite part of the show.
Yeah, I can only imagine also the response from people that are at City Hall that don't necessarily have an art background, that are there for X and X reasons, and seeing that kind of work, I think is, well, not only super important, but also very possibly bringing a lot more question that like quote unquote more traditional experience will have. And I think it's really bold that you guys did this, and this is why I'm generally interested in your work. But making the decision to showcase this particular exhibition at City Hall, I think is really interesting, because it does have this kind of outsidery tone to it, even though I hate the word. But yeah, it's a beautiful show. Congratulations on this one. And speaking of beautiful shows, and congratulations on this one too, let's move on to actually some of our artwork and some of our exhibition featured. So first of all, Cake Taxi. So again, the name of the exhibition is Cake Taxi. Let's go back to the premises. We invite you to curate a show at sea during a pandemic. First of all, you say yes, which is super nice, because most people will have not necessarily agreed to do that. First of all, because you have to be physical and in person when it comes to picking up artwork. And second of all, because it's a weird time. So I'm really grateful that you said yes. And second of all, of course, your experience going through the C space without the artist is very different than any other guest curator has ever experienced in the history of Creativity Explored. So I was wondering if you can speak a little bit about that too.
Yeah, well, we were stumped, initially, because it's a place that really has an incredible energy. And Lindsey and I are both, very really interested in having authentic encounters with artwork and with artists, and being afforded the opportunity to raid the icebox, or to go through all those storage containers was incredibly exciting. So we spent a while just kind of cruising through and making notes and making stacks and making piles, and knew that whatever we came up with would probably have to manifest in physical space and time somehow, but we didn't know how. And I guess we had the feeling too that however it would manifest in real space or real time, the work would tell us what that should be. It wasn't going to be the other way around. And so one day we saw this Cake Taxi.
Well, we kept going. We were really stumped at first, or kind of it was more of like intimidated by like because we do respond so much to having conversations with artists and and being able to interact with people in real time. So one thing is like, we were really looking through all the artworks and looking through all the shows that have happened at CE previously. And we were also really interested in looking through the stacks of artwork that had just been made. And every time I found myself being like, whoa, who made this? It was Camille's. And so the stack just kept growing. And I was like, this person is so prolific. And I could really, and then we pulled the drawers open too, and we're looking through all of the cakes and the Ferris wheels, and the cakes just really, we couldn't stop looking at the cakes. But it was, I can go, and I don't know what your other questions are going to be, but like go into talking about what exactly it was about the cakes, but like, it was really like her energy and what she was writing on her artworks. And like, it just felt really encapsulated how painful the last year has been and the aching that we've all been doing to be together. And I just felt that so deeply when I looked at her work. And then when we would talk to you, Clea, about who Camille was, I was just like, oh my God, I want to meet her. She's so cool. Every story about her, I was like, wow, oh my God. Yeah. And we would like we had a short list, and then we would always come back to Camille. So it was like, let's just go with Camille. I think like, I just can't, that's the way.
No, I mean, and it's a bold choice, to be honest, because again, most guest curators that we've had so far have selected a group show because the overwhelming amount of work and the overwhelming amount of like style that they all want to be more inclusive in ways, which is of course totally fine. But I think you guys literally had a crush on her and her work.
Totally.
Yeah. Well,
and it really is visible, right?
Yeah. I mean, Lindsey and I really like to get people together. So that was just another, that was another loss that we've been dealing with over the last year. So of course it wasn't like premeditated at all, but to see the cakes and to know that a cake is something that at least ideally sort of is shared with others and is a marker of an occasion, seemed like a way to, if not actually get people together in physical space, at least like have them sort of rally around a body of work or a level of enthusiasm and complexity. It wasn't, I think that if the works were just kind of great looking cakes, then maybe they wouldn't be that interesting. But for those of you who've spent time at CE and have a work like this, which is from the last year, it's not all, gumdrops. Mm-hmm. So Camille has a very particular way of using the cake as a way to contain or to layer, a series of thoughts and feelings, anxieties, insecurities, concerns, memories that she has. And so it just seemed like it could hold a lot of the way that both Lindsey and I, and presumably others, had been feeling in the last year.
And this one in particular, really, when we saw the two most recent cake drawings there, I just felt this one deeply. It just, that this would be the anti-coronavirus pill, anti-corona cake to kill the virus spread. I am reading it all, but and it's a new kind of cake, like all of the different language that was on different drawings having to do with cake, and there's it. But then we were having a previous conversation with Michael, and it kind of came out of me where it was like, oh well, also was. Once we talked to Camille on Zoom, it was clear that the cakes were a gateway to getting back to CE. And so this was the remedy, is this cake. And if we all eat this cake, we can get back to normal. We can get back to the art studio, we can make work, and it's filled with all of the nutrients we need, but also it's going to taste really good too, because we're all going to be back together again.
Mm-hmm. For our audience and for those of you who are not familiar with Camille Holvoet's work, she has a series of cake, as we were looking at, but also a series of pill bottle. And she's very blunt and straightforward because she has a lot of text affiliated to her work as well. And they're all about her state of mind, her feelings, what she thinks is right, and what I think, we can all relate to. And so this cake in particular is almost like a mashup between her pill bottles and the cake series, because it seems like she incorporated little pills in the cake. And I think it's the ultimate Camille's work, basically, because it's like just everything she needs and wants, indeed, in an artwork. And it's so powerful, and because you can relate so much to it. But going back to the Zoom call, also for those of you who have never met Camille, the first thing she'll ask is, if she sees you and she's never met you, is to cross your eyes and open wide. And she really loves it. And she gets on to every single visitor at CE. She asks them bluntly, and most of them do it. And so when you guys first met on Zoom, I was really thrilled that this was actually the case. Like, the first question she asked you was like, can you open your eyes and cross them? And it felt really good, because there's the sense of normality of having this being the introductory of her personality, of her work, of everything she is, not changing and still being, who she is, even through this crazy time. So let's move on to a few more cakes. This one was also one of the most recent shelter-in-place work that she's been making. 2 people luring at the cake. Background photo.
That one's a big favorite.
Tell me why.
Roller skates and high heels on a cake. What's better? They're just so fun, and another thing is, like, I really like cake, and I used to make a lot of sculptural cakes. I was telling Clea this, and that also was a reason why I was into these. They just look so fun to design and to create, and the color palettes, wonderful.
Yeah, it's so this one is a pastel one, I believe, and we have a few more that are like markers. So she kind of alternates her medium, but they have so much texture all the time, which is I'm just gonna go back real quick too. So last part before we jump into actually the kind of awesome programming that are affiliated with this show. So when you saw that piece, you named the whole show after it. Tell us about that part.
Yeah, we really loved this one. It made us laugh out loud when we first saw it. And we kind of bounced around some different ideas, but then we were thinking about the stories of Camille, and both of like her asking someone to open their eyes wide and be cross-eyed, to also convincing people to buy her sweets, which just she just seemed like such a clever, crafty prankster. I don't know. And we wanted to make good on that as well. Like, since we can't be in the studio going, we did bring her cake, which was awesome, but like, we wanted to mobilize the cake in some way. And so this piece was a gateway to thinking about like what a public program could be, and also to like get spread Camille's spirit for far and wide, not only bring her cake, but bring other people cake, along with getting, sharing her artwork.
Yeah, it was Lindsey's observation that that work, like she said, it mobilized cake. And so that mobilized us, and that like completely gave shape to the form of the show and the projects. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, well, so let's talk about programming. You guys came up with this incredible idea to, if you buy a cake, if you buy an art cake, you enter a giveaway where you can get a cake. And that kind of brings back to our community the idea of like having something to celebrate. It's something that we often kind of went back to in our conversations, just having something to celebrate, and the cake is kind of the emblem of that celebration. And for quite a while, we hadn't had something to really celebrate. Of course, we were also asked not to go out and celebrate with people. And now that, you know, things are a little different, and you have this lingering moment where you want to do that. And so your way to engage was to create this giveaway. And that's a photo of you two with Camille being delivered by Cake Taxi, Cake Taxi, aka Jordan and Lindsey. So yeah, if you buy a cake, you can get one for free. 4 lucky winners will be selected. So that's an extra push for Camille's amazing artwork to be bought. Can you tell me, like, I love that idea so much, but like, I will have another thought of that. Like, can you tell me a little bit, like, what was your, can you share a little bit more about the whole thought process behind this program?
Yeah. I mean, the first idea was we'll deliver cake to anybody. I mean, it was really kind of like a rabid, like, this is it. We will bring sugar anywhere in the Bay. And then it became, we kind of talked ourselves down from there and thought that this would just add a level of suspense and unpredictability and fun to the mix, and then sort of prototyped it with a delivery to Camille, and had a really sweet visit with her on the porch of this group home where she stays. And
we again wanted to kind of spread the Camille's desire for sweets to others. Not only to her, but share with others, and give people a chance to come together and share some cake with one another, have a party again. It seems like we're getting closer to being able to do things like that. So it was another way to spread joy and kind of being kind of goofy, and it felt like it was in the spirit of the organization and of Camille. I also sometimes will give out cakes at lectures I have to give, my own art lectures. I'll have like a raffle, and I'll hand out a hamburger cake. I don't know if I've told you that, Clea, but that, so it's part of a problem, maybe. I just, you know.
Lindsey has a long history of cake giveaways.
Just needed to find a new outlet for them to have. That's awesome.
Let me drive it to your house.
That was a picture of Camille holding something else, actually, and I'm just going to get into it right after this. So Camille, in her group home, when we visited her, Cake Taxi drop off the first cake ever from their delivery system. It's like Uber, but better. So this is also a part of the experience, and the programming element was to create a party pack. You guys did an amazing job with kind of really envisioning what a party pack with Camille's work could look like, and this is the result. So you're looking at a party pack for 5 people, napkins, plates, banner, stickers. Yeah, can you just tell us more about this whole idea?
Yeah, it's all in the name of an occasion, and if we were really excited that Creativity Explored was willing to go the distance with us. So it just seemed fitting that if you got a cake, you would, or got an artwork, you would need a party pack.
And it's like eating cake with Camille as well.
Yeah, and spending time with Camille is sort of like an immersive, amazing experience. So like, what if you were completely surrounded by her artwork when you were celebrating with either a cake that she had made, you know, that was on the wall, or a cake that was delivered to you. It just seemed like a way to sort of package and then explode out, you know, the overwhelming joy and creativity of her work.
And the cake that we'll deliver will be, if you win, will be crafted after one of her cakes. But also, like, you know, when you have a party when you're a kid, and like I don't know, like the thematic parties that you have and everything that you're obsessed with. I guess this is part of the obsession and the celebration
Star
of
Wars cup,
Camille.
Star Wars plate, Star Wars.
Yeah, part of the crush. It's like you have all of the elements, so it's truly a Camille party.
Yeah, it is. And it's true that actually, since tonight should have been our in-person opening if it wasn't for, you know, a massive pandemic, at CE we have this tradition, and Megan can attest, like we always have this moment where like, what's the food of the opening? And like we have a theme food that the artist pick, or like a beverage that the artist pick that really wants. At some point we had like corn dogs, I forgot what it was for, and so the cakes will have obviously be the shared experience food for this opening. So having that kind of alternative way to engage is really great for us, and I think for the community. So just to reiterate, this is free if you buy an artwork. Not pushing, just saying. This is a beautiful box for free when you buy an artwork from the show. And this will be delivered and shipped to you. Courtesy also of Jordan and Lindsey, amazing selection of cake on napkins. Cake on napkins, that could have been a good show name too. And finally, there is another programming that will be a little video from Lindsey, again, like talking and looking at the shape of amazing artwork by Camille. I'm going to finish on this one. So this has been, apparently we're spreading the word and spreading the joy, because this has been made by one of our board member during our last gala. And this is a replica as well of the Camille cake that is currently in the gallery. So technically this is up for grab, not the cake, but I guess the cake is gone, but the artwork is. So that was something really funny that we discovered, like while we were creating the show, that this was already happening at the same time. And it's just like this kind of energy, I guess, in the world, and hunger for Camille, really. If anybody has any questions, this is the time to ask Lindsey, Jordan, or myself. Camille unfortunately could not be part of this conversation tonight because it's quite a complicated process to be able to schedule off time Zoom and conversation. So, but she is definitely aware that this is happening and very, very excited about the potential of this cake exhibition. I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
I have a question for you, Lindsey and Jordan. I'm curious how, after meeting Camille and seeing her work, has it influenced or inspired you at all? And maybe you'll approach something differently, or maybe Lindsey create something inspired by Camille.
You know what, whenever we went and visited her, she brought out 2 of her binders that she has. And that was really inspiring that she shared those with us. But then looking at how she layers her pictures in the binder, of like, I don't know, there's like different kind of collages that she makes of people or like multiple pictures of one thing.
It's like a scrapbook.
Yeah, but they're more collagey than that. And I've actually been making some collages in the studio, and it got me thinking about her binders started to make me think about that. But I think like her color and definitely the spirit in the work. I also get really obsessive about certain topics or certain objects that I reuse and kind of exhaust. So I think that I will definitely be inspired by her.
You're the artist.
Any other questions?
Looks like someone put one in the chat. What is your favorite cake flavor? And then also follow up, Lindsey, your comment earlier about hamburger cakes. Why hamburger?
Why not? My favorite kind of cake, I mean, I'm really into chocolate, which seems like Camille is as well. So that's pretty standard. And carrot cake. As far as hamburger cake, I just think it's hilarious that it's a cake that's shaped like a hamburger. And the cake shop that we're going to be collaborating, or the bakery that we're collaborating with, is called the cake store. Wait, what am I?
Cake Gallery.
Cake Gallery, sorry. I'm getting tongue twisted. I really like them because they make one of the best hamburger cakes around. And they really understand colorful icing on the edge, which I think is pretty critical for Camille. So yeah, what's your favorite kind of cake?
I think that this past year has felt like the opposite of red velvet cake. For some reason, that's like that is the correct indulgence for right now.
Katie's asking your thoughts on ice cream cake.
Katie Hood Morgan.
Always with those critical questions from Katie Hood Morgan.
Pro ice cream cake.
Yeah, for sure. Mint chocolate chip.
Yeah.
That could be good.
Yeah.
Okay. I like how, like, if I were to ask this question at first, we will never have talked about anything else at the end. So we have a few more questions. Lindsey and Jordan, were there any runner-up ideas for the show? To put it in another way, if you were curating a second CE show, what would you think it will be?
I mean, one of the...
You kind of already know, actually.
Do we?
Well, you have ideas.
Oh yeah, but there are, it's like CE are it's unlike other places because it's like there are infinite exhibitions there. There are infinite projects, programs, party packs. It's like a Borges story. It's like the whole universe is just in that one room. And that's what makes it such an incredible place. So there are some other artists that are like especially exciting to me right now. And I hope to be working with one of them later this year, which we can talk about. But yeah, it would be such a pleasure to just make show after show there, and to experiment too with doing group exhibitions and making connections between unlikely artists, unlikely stuff. And
yeah, I love the fact that you built the relationship with Camille, that it was something that was really I think it's going to be long lasting, and I hope it will be a long lasting collaborating. I mean, you guys have a contemporary art perspective, but bringing this kind of merging these worlds together, I think, is really important. We do have a few more cake related questions. So Lindsey, did learning about Camille's art practice influence your cake making practice?
I've realized that my cake making practice is lacking. So I need to get up to speed. One of her cakes is a oversized Hostess ding dong. And I actually made a cake like that for a friend of mine that had a cream filling. And that reminded me that I did make that with like a chocolate ganache on the outside. It was really good. But I wanted to make all of the cakes that we gave out for Cake Taxi, but I think that's a crazy idea. Camille's like, not Camille, Clea's like, I think it's over, but I might make one. Someone could be the lucky person. Maybe I'll make the oversized ding dong again. I don't know.
There you go. I like how overachiever you both are. It's like, let's bring cake to everybody. I was like, no. But that's a really cool idea. And I hope it eventually kind of your practice and hers merge in some ways, you know, and we can critique that in the future. Does this make you want to leave the contemporary art world forever? That's a great question.
That sounds like regards.
Yeah. It is, yes.
It should be known that Regards in Chicago is one of our finest cultural institutions. It's an amazing gallery in Chicago. I think the question is more like, don't you want to do more shows with Creativity Explored? I think that's how we answer that. But I mean, it's like, what is the, CE and Lindsey and I both sort of work within and without what might be understood as the contemporary art world, and the trend, seeing more work that is produced at Creativity Explored in places like Creativity Explored, in museums, in galleries, at project spaces all over, is one of the the thrilling developments in the contemporary art world in the last 15-20 years. So we never really wanted to be a part of the contemporary art world. we just want to deliver cake. Yeah, no, I mean, it's a calling somewhere. It's you found your way to make yourself happy, and I think it's great. Yeah, Regard says, hey, hell yes, same, we'll feel that. So I guess you answered correctly. All right, people, it's 7 o'clock, and I want to thank you all so much for coming. I want to thank Lindsey and Jordan for curating. I want to thank our CE team for helping with everything. And I hope you get the memo about buying a cake, getting one potential for free, and getting a party box for free, just in case I didn't register before. And yeah, thank you for this. This is great. Hopefully you guys can all see it in person at some point, maybe, we'll see. So yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight, and for making this a little bit of an opening. Yeah, thanks everybody for
Thank you.
being here.